Hello, everyone. Welcome. Good evening, and thank you for joining us wherever you're from. Joining us. Sorry for the slight delay in getting things in order. I'm sure you have good reason to be patient with amazing workings of this technology. At least it is not a not red light on street that you try to go to the center so that you can attend the teaching. So in many ways, and a lot less patience is necessary to do these teachings in this way. So first of all, take a couple moments to secure your mind and attention, and the importance of having our mind in good order through the benefit of these teachings. So therefore, thank each other's support and kindness and generosity for making all these teachings possible. With this rejoice, we also rejoice the qualities of Buddha, the Dharma, the Sangha, and therefore our brotherhood and sisterhood in this by renewing our refuge and renew our commitment to practice loving kindness and compassion, and not righteousness. Loving kindness and compassion and the joy. If you do that, then you have a lot of joy. If you practice righteousness, you wouldn't have joy. You would have misery. So then you have equanimity as well. No wonder why some people are so righteous. They have to be this Buddhist, they should be like that, and then they end up being more miserable than and then they're complaining those other people about. So that's not loving kindness even for yourself, let alone for others. So it's very important. We need to come to the simple teachings of how to practice kindness and compassion to each other by becoming a disciple of the Buddha. So reflect on this. Inda Buddha Dhamma Sangha Ajere Pede Ladame Bhavacha Ajevandala Ajare Buddha Utuve Inda Buddha Dhamma Sangha Ajere Pede Ladame Bhavacha Ajevandala Ajare Buddha Utuve Sanjecha Tanso Jecha Nala Chanjo Bara Tadane Javasaja Dage Jinsa Jeve Tso Namanje Rola Penje Sanje Robarajo. May all beings have happiness and a cause of happiness. May they be free from suffering and the cause of suffering. May they never part from a happiness that knows no suffering. May they dwell in equanimity, free from attachment and aversion to those near and far. May all beings have happiness and cause of happiness. May they be free from suffering and the cause of suffering. May they never part from happiness that knows no suffering. May they dwell in equanimity, free from attachment and aversion to those near and far. May all beings have happiness and the cause of happiness. May they be free from suffering and the cause of suffering. May they never part from the happiness that knows no suffering. May they dwell equanimity, free from attachment and aversion to those near Mazam Jame Jera Baraja, Majemenga Nangani, Sozarani, Tezun Javila, Janzalom, Gaden, Gaden, Baranga de Barazanga, de Bodezo, and Gadenga de Baranga de Barazanga, de Bodezo, Gadenga de Baranga de Barazanga, de Bodezo, and Gadenga de Baranga de Barazanga, de Bodezo, and Gadenga de Baranga de Barazanga, de Bodezo, Gadenga de Baranga de Barazanga, de Bodezo, and Gadenga de Baranga de Barazanga, de Bodezo, and Gadenga de Baranga de Barazanga de Amanga denga de baranga de barazanga de bodezo anga denga de baranga de barazanga de bodezo namala mala janzalo zanjala janzalo jola janzalo gendela janzalo yunjuma jeroji paro de jambala janzalo kenala janzalo de dane wala den da jage de meze de rubaji de janga la yambaji yunjuma jeroji paro de jambado sama ila zan tsagadan je de de janla chen do ba de yin de dage yunjuma jeroji paro de jambado de sama ila zan tsagadan je de dane wala den dan kordan je damba Benjamin de Jadam Papa Conjosum, the Gaiden Betamdeni, the Chilan, Dobri, Mary, Yavara, Namalama, Jandala, Zanila, Jandala, Jola, Jandala, Gandela, Jandala, Jerry, Barajamala, Jandala, General, Jandala, Nova, then Tajake de Mezin, the River Jangala, Bajin, Jim Jamajeri, Baradojimado, Zamila, and Segadan, Juventud, and Nevalin, the Janas of Jandaba, the agent of Dagam, Jamajera, Baradojimado, Samilas, and Segadan, Juventud, and Nevalin, and Dankodan, Jivetamba, Jerry, Monument, Division, Baba Conjosum, Gaidem, Tadani, the Jela, and Dobri, Mary, Raude, Namalama, Jandala, Zanjila, Jandala, Jola, Jandala, Gandela, Jandala, Jamajera, Baradjamal, Jandala, Canala, Jandala, the Wallet, and the Zagadem, the River, Jangala, Bajim, Jamajera, Baradjimado, some Elas, it's a garden, Juventud, on the Wallet, and the Dijanas of Jandala, the Jagim, Jamajera, Baradjimado, some Elas, and the garden, Juventud, on the Wallet, and Don Cordan, Jivetamba, Jurbe, Banjam, and Division, Papa Conjosum, the Gaidem, Tadani, the Jan, Dobri, Jamav, Shiver, Tabdan, Jabdan, Dabadan, the Jango, Semjanam, Nella, Dijalan, Dodo, Janjubala, Zedan, Angezoya, Brother Jabot, Niavaja, and the Zongi, don't judge Shiva, the Minton, Jan, and Dabadan, Jaban, Jambon, Daji, the Jan, the Jo. Welcome back, everyone. Thank you again for joining and lending your attention to the teachings of the Enlightened One on the basis of the writings and the realization of great celebrated Indian Mahas Pandita Shantideva. He has written a number of texts. Most celebrated and appreciated texts even today is his Bodhisattva's way of life. And we have been studying his 6th chapter this term, and tonight is our last session on this 6th chapter. And so I will continue where we left last week. We're talking about how we should improve our ability to practice patience by recalling the kindness of the Buddha. Buddha's amazing hard work and resilient discipline with which he practiced. So now tonight we're going to go on to that, how the Buddhas are displeased by when others are harmed. So the verse number 122 and 23, I think we finished that too as well. So now we're going to start tonight on the verse number 124, talking about how the Buddhas are pleased by confession of our sins. So it is person who is patient has many qualities. He will also confess his own mistakes and he will forgive others. The one who does not confess his own is very, very uptight in not being able to accept other people's mistakes. So therefore, it says that those who do the confession, those who do the confession, the damage I have done to wandering beings saddens all the Buddhas in their compassion. Therefore, all the sins I will confess today and pray that they will bear with me. So therefore, Firstly, of course, Buddhas will be displeased and discouraged by sentient beings doing harmful things. So that any harm, hurting we have done, and if you can't remember some, that's not because you haven't done, okay? It's because you can't remember them. Most people are very poor in recognizing and remembering their own flaws. They're always fixed on how to point other people's flaws, So that's what makes people themselves very impatient, very irritable, very angry, and they're so upset by someone's alleged wrongdoings because they themselves are full of it, but yet they don't see it. So they will never pardon other people's mistake, nor confess their own. And who will be pleased by that? No, nobody will be pleased by that. That's why I say, even the Buddhas will be saddened. There are some cases where the statues of Buddhas or some prayer flag, big poles of prayer flags falling down, or statues are shedding tears. It's because sentient beings are so discouragingly not doing any of that. Therefore, we as a person who wish to practice patience, we should confess each day. I will confess each day. They say 3 times in the morning, 3 times during the day, 3 times at night. Even if you can't remember, just assume there were some mistakes. And if you confess your infractions, your root and secondary vows, which are often fractured by your negativities due to ignorance, carelessness, disrespectfulness, excessive affliction, all these 4 things can make people very vulnerable to break their own precepts. So don't ever think that others are only the transgressors and you are the one who don't, If you do that, you are not a disciple. Disciples should always take liberty to every day to confess. I remember my own celebrated his 7th Chogye teacher Rinpoche. This elderly monk practitioner, throughout, you can just watch around the clock. He's always doing things for others, always praying, always meditating. Even before he go to bed, he wouldn't go to bed. He will just go down and do the prostration to the 35 Buddhas, even if it is very, very, aged body, And one wonders, what has he got to confess, So he says all the sins are not, of course one may not think that I have done any wrong, but one is doing the confession for everyone, with everyone, so that people who don't have the confidence, who don't have the power or to confess or forgive others, Many people want to confess, want to forgive, but they just don't have the confidence. They don't have the power of regret or power of faith or power of resolve or any of those. They don't have. So therefore, we will need to engage in daily practice of confession as one of the 7 limbs of the Buddhist practice. Like the confession of negative deeds is whether you do some recitation of the 100-syllable mantra Bodhisattva, or whether you do the whole confession sutra, just remembering each time you think like that, remember something and pardon someone, forgive somebody, and confess your own thoughts. The fact that you think bad thoughts about somebody else is already something you should straight away tell yourself, oh, don't you dare think like that, almost like close your mouth from speaking something like that. Close your mind from thinking that thought. If you did, straight away confess before all the Buddhas, so that one does not ignore them. One does not think that I'm pure. I am justifiably so righteous and pure that I can judge and criticize and talk about the flaws of other people. Those people are the ones who don't think they have any flaws. Those people who have flaws themselves and confess regularly, even they notice somebody's mistakes or failures, they will practice kindness to them. That is what patience means. Patience is people don't realize patience is a great behavior of compassion. Behavior of compassion. Out of compassion, you practice patience, not because someone doesn't make mistakes or you don't get upset. Even if you do get upset, you try to control your nerves. Controlling your own nerves and restraining them is patience. and just thinking that I'm thinking these thoughts about them when I have got tons of my own mistake. When you do that, that's a confession. You straight away acknowledge in the presence of Buddha, and pray that they will bear with me. Pray that all those people and enlightened ones who can really bear witness to our failures and infraction, may they accept my confession. So Buddhas are with infinite compassion, unconditionally accepts all, and so you have every confidence. You have what we call power of reliance. You have refuge in the Buddha. Buddha never turned anyone who comes back saying that whatever. He actually embraced them unconditionally. Be that Angulimala, like a violent person, be like Nanda, like someone who is so infatuated with his partner, or a terrible power-hungry person like Ajatasattu who killed his own father Bimbisara. No matter what they did, Buddha unconditionally embraced them. And so Buddhist disciples, if they think they are Buddha's disciple, they cannot be intolerant to fellow sentient beings and their perceived or alleged mistakes. They should see, I too have similar mistakes. I too have my own failures. So instead of throwing stone at them, I should mind my own mistakes as a disciple. When you do that, that is restraining your nerves, restraining your anger. When you restrain your anger, it's not saying that someone hasn't got mistakes or they haven't done wrong, but that's their business. But you are learning to practice patient with that and confess your own. I got my own limitations and way I think, my attitudes, my past behaviors. There's still a lot of the dirt I have on my own mind. I need to mind that, and therefore you ask the pardon of all the Buddhas and enlightened ones who bear witness to you, because they can see you right in front of them. And that I might rejoice the Buddha's hearts. Yeah, Buddha. Of course, then you will have the great fitness to be able to rejoice the hearts of the Buddha who unconditionally accepts. And I will be master of myself. I be master of myself and be the servant of the world. Yeah, when we are able to master our own state of mind, what needs to be restrained, what needs to be recruited, what needs to be transformed, when we are able to do that, then we can serve other people. When we can be patient, when we have to be patient. And then you will not act as a righteous, irritable, intolerant person who thinks that you saw some people's weakness or mistakes. Did you? The world is full of them. So it's not a big surprise, is it? Is it? You're the only one who find that out. People think that when somebody's mistake is highlighted by somebody, the person is caught or something. Who hasn't got full of mistakes? Everybody is caught by their own mistakes. So one has to be cognizant of one's own mistake. Then you will be master of yourself. And then, when you master your own negativities, can contain, restrain them, then you can serve, be the servant to the world. Then you will be servant by being patient and generous and kind to the people who are whatever agitated, whatever who make mistakes. Even to them you serve. You don't need to serve the Buddha. You need to serve sentient beings who are falling, who are transgressing, who are repeating the transgression. Being able to be kind and compassionate and tolerant to them is being real servant. Servant doesn't mean you get $15 an hour, you get paid for what you do. That's just a transaction. You do this, I do this. Then it's just like material world's way of exchanging each other's service. That's not called servant. The word servant is not accepted by this intolerant materialistic society. So servant is one who's spiritually growing to overcome one's own self-importance by serving others. Yeah. So by serving other people, we are actually able to practice patience. We are able to practice patience. The servant have to be very patient. Servants have to be very patient. People who are not patient, they're not serving. They will work or serve only on their terms. They are not servant. So we have to learn how to be a servant. Bodhisattva is one who has made a vow to be the servant to sentient beings, really. That's why it's called courageous. Sattva means courageous warrior, the warrior who wanted to serve other sentient beings. That's really difficult. Sentient beings are very difficult to serve. And most people don't want to serve sentient beings. Quite a lot of people walk away from their parents or partners or work or places. They don't want to serve sentient beings. Why? Because it's very difficult to please and work for. So you have to be special to be able to make the resolve to be servant of others and not respond though others trample, wound, or kill me. See, this is amazing, yeah. Now, let the guardian of the world rejoice. So you are actually saying, even if people were to trample upon me or put me down, quite a lot of people say, I've been put down so much by this person, I will never let him put down ever again, they say that. You can tell how long the person has been resenting, They have been practicing passive aggression. They haven't been practicing patience. So passive aggression is not patient. Passive aggression is aggression. In a just kind of a civilized manner, outwardly not showing anything, but deep down seething with that. So lots of people are having this kind of problem, and they're so angry at their mother or sister or brother or uncle or boss or friend or X or Y, and they're just so angry with them, And that is what destroys the person's immune system and make them become so contract illnesses of very serious nature very quickly because they're not able to understand the psychology of how suffering is created by adopting that kind of stance. So one who is willing to be slightly physically wounded or even trample on you, push you, or whatever they did, let me not respond them retaliation with a retaliation. Physical violence with physical violence, verbal abuse, emotional abuse with emotional abuse. No, even if they do emotional abuse you, they accuse you or they do, you don't accuse them back. Of course, you will say, look, if I see he says this to me, I'll say this. But you deliberately hide it. Deliberately don't see the benefit of it. You can see that's how all the sufferings are manufactured. And therefore, let them do little harms to you, to your body or to your emotion or to your feelings, because you're not feelings, That's what we were saying just then, doing Heart Sutra, I was repelling obstacle. It says that, in the past, people meditated on the perfection of wisdom and then repelled the obstacle. Likewise, by meditating on the meaning of the profound perfection of wisdom, may I be able to repel all my obstacles through my practice of Dharma and then clap hands. So what it means is that actually, that when you do expose to some ridicule and put downs and what do you call, accusation or blaming or whatever people do, just let them do that because that might tame your mind in a way that has never, Because if you did that, that's what the courageous warriors do. The warriors bodhisattvas are like firefighters. Only few would put their hands up and go and do that. So like that, here you fight your own enmity, your own resentment, your own ill will, your own anger, your own grudge against somebody. and use your grudge. Use the grudge that you notice itself to be tamed, and not respond grudge with grudge. Violence with violence, aggression with aggression. You could say, "Oh, he destroyed my house," or destroyed. Yeah, that's your house is never the sooner or later not yours anyway. Sooner your house is just going to be left empty. Even if nobody harm your house, you still have to have. You will not be a house. House will outlive you. So therefore, don't try to protect the unprotectable. So you just have to let go. And not fight over matter and hurting people in the between. So try to protect the people and let the guardians of the world rejoice. Meaning this will please the Buddhas. And because you're confessing, you're purifying your negative karma by practicing patience. You're not only practicing patience because you are more resilient and patient now, but you know that this person's provocation is actually enabling you to confess your own past intolerances, your past violence and aggression put down to other people that you may have done that you can't recall are now being purified as you admittedly accept them with the great compassion and not responding violence with violence, aggression with aggression, and accusation with accusation, but still accept them. Some people might say, "Why don't you say something? Why don't you tell something to clarify?" Or something, Well, most people try to clarify it only to make it more muddy. So you practice patience. Maybe it's your mother you are having to practice patience. I mean, poor mother has suffered so much on behalf of you, try to bring you, try to feed you, try to bring to the world, and so on and so on. And so whoever that it is, there are lots of times they were good to you, Why don't you remember all the good they did, you and them? And now when they are going through some hard patch, then you try to say, "Oh, I don't want you to destroy all of that by this difficulty. I will let these difficulties purify my own intolerance and my own righteousness, so without any enmity towards them, that will, gladden the guardians of the world." The guardians of the world means the Buddhas. Buddhas will be greatly pleased. So that's that. And next, number 4 is respect sentient being by thinking of their immaculate nature. So therefore, this is talking about looking at the nature of, what is the nature of sentient beings. And the great compassionate lords consider as their own all wanderers. Of these there is no doubt. Beings then are Buddha's very self. Thus, how can I not treat them with respect? So you treat the sentient beings as none other than Buddha, Buddha's kind of relatives or friends or someone. Because you respect the Buddha so much, also you need to treat all sentient beings as his sort of herd. And so therefore, there's no doubt that the beings are as important as this Buddha. So therefore, if each sentient beings that you are subjected to, if you were to treat them with respect and tolerance and so on, basically they are directly or indirectly same as immaculate qualities of Buddha. When you bow down to the Buddha, when you bring a lot of flowers, all of that is good. But this practicing tolerance with sentient beings is even more better than bringing flowers and writing great thank you cards and all of that. Yeah, of course those are good too, but it's even better. Consequently, if you practice tolerance to sentient beings, that's much more meaningful way to show gratitude to the Buddha, because the sentient beings are the one in the working with sentient beings. You have more chance to exhaust your negative karma, accumulate more merit. Buddhas are so rare. We hardly can see Buddha. We only know the Buddha came so long time ago, and we never heard. So chance of us being able to accumulate merit in front of Buddha itself is very slim. But we need not to be. All sentient beings are basically the true field of merit if you were to practice patience. And therefore, without any doubt, that all sentient beings are Buddhas. Basically Buddhas we can say Buddha's herd. So if you look after the herd of the master, then the master is indirectly or directly treated with very well. So therefore, why would you not treat sentient beings with respect and tolerance? So being able to treat sentient beings, say if you believe, even so theistic people, and they say, oh, God is love and it teaches love, and so we should all love all creatures. They say it's very, very inspiring to do that. His Holiness Dalai Lama says that, it really doesn't matter whether people believe in God or not God, because theistic people said God is love, and therefore all creatures are God's creation, and we should love them, And that's a really, really useful way to break down the differences of religion, if there are any. I don't think there are any, essentially. It's all differences are very superficial. It's all differences are just language, concept, and that's history. And otherwise, the whole practice of mercy and forgiveness, kindness in Christian teachings are comparably quite similar to the Buddhist teachings. And so if you believe in God, really good, all human beings are God's creation. So how could you harm sentient beings? But how can you think that you can use other creatures, saying that God created that for us to eat or something? That I don't understand. So the main idea is that one needs to treat all sentient beings as the flock of the Buddha. For the Buddhists, or you can say creation of the God in a kind of Judeo-Christian community can think like that. If you believe in God, which is really good, better to have some belief than those materialists who don't believe in anything and then die like a cow. Those people who believe, they say cope much better and they have pain. Or terrible illnesses, they cope much better. The hospital staff always say that people who have some kind of belief, doesn't matter what it is, they cope much better. They say prayers and they like that. So you also should pray. May the mercy of the God, empower me to have the fitness of humanity to practice kindness and respect sentient beings without being impatient and intolerant and then non-violent, and then all kind of terrible things people do in the name of what they think is right and what is wrong. Practice of patience is not right and wrong. It is about how to go beyond right and wrong, how to transcend those duality, and how to minimize the harm and hurt and suffering from escalating. It's a very logical, very practical. So it's not as though your self-importance will be wasted if you practice patience. Or people think that why would I practice patience to someone like this? They say that. It's again self-importance comes up. But in Buddhism, the practice of patience to sentient being is even more meritorious because every sentient being is Buddha's sentient beings. So if you treat them, respect them, it's like not walking over Buddha's sandals, or not walking over Buddha's clothes, or not walking or not treating some Buddha's pets with contempt or something like that. So being able to think like that's why in Buddhism, sentient beings are almost as important as God in Christianity, because we have more word sentient being in Buddhist books than God. Why? Because it's all about the plight of sentient beings. Poor sentient being, nobody wants to suffer, nobody wants to instigate you or harm you, but they're just forced by the karma and affliction. And your karma and affliction combined with theirs, and there's that kind of type of people you attract in your life, because your own karmic predicament attract the kind of brother or mother or sister or you have. So you better practice patience patience and kindness now than having this resentment and always talking in your head how much wrong they did to me, and then always feeling very, very heated up and become very, very angry. That's not living. That's really not living at all. So, sixth one is demonstration of the benefit of pleasing beings. So, by practicing pleasing sentient beings, it will how to accomplish this. So that verse number 127 says, venerating them, venerating meaning being courteous to sentient beings, will please the Buddha's hearts. Yeah. Not only Buddhas, but even somebody else, onlooker will see that if you really don't retaliate someone who is aggressive to you or mistreating you, if you don't retaliate with them, they will find hope in humanity. Of course, Buddhas will be pleased by that and perfectly secure the welfare of myself. Yeah, when you are courteous to others, you never are a sufferer. You're not the loser. He says, you perfectly secure the welfare of myself, So you actually, instead of being loser, you're actually winner. Because you have won for them, you secure their well-being by not retaliating, and also it has also won your own sense of security. Because if you practice patience, you will not be fearing he will attack me again. But because if you retaliate now, even though it feels like you are able to reply quickly and sharply, but you still will be going home with a great fear when he's going to attack me again. Why? Because you have already created the cause. But if you practice patience, then you will secure your well-being. You wouldn't even doubt that they will attack you. Even if they did, you know exactly how to respond. So you're pretty much kind of confident. You will never come out as a loser. So don't mistakenly think that practicing patience is sort of playing the weak one. Playing the weak role. It's playing the wise role, intelligent emotion they call it. Only few have this intelligent emotion, at least double-digit intelligent emotion, if not triple, double-digit intelligence. Zero tolerance is miserable. So one has to learn to practice. If you practice patience with somebody today, and then you will feel much better that afternoon, that evening, even day after. You will be naturally habituated to predispose like that with similar situation next time, because as a result of your practicing patience, you don't have fear or insecurity. But those who have retaliated somebody, those who have always resentment towards somebody, done something wrong towards them, they don't feel at peace, They're constantly afraid the other will do something. It's just like those countries who always sort of trying to sort of attack the borders, even though it didn't get anywhere, even couple of kilometers, because they did the attacking. Then they are more afraid, thinking that others will attack again, so they will never at peace. Like that, if you will secure your own welfare when you practice patience, this will drive away the sorrows of the world. Yeah, when you do the practicing patience, you wouldn't have sorrow or fear or resentment and anger and guilt and all of that. People who retaliate, do you think they're better? They thought that was the right thing they did at the time, and few of their friends also think you brave one or something. But wait a minute. Look at them. Ever since then, they are so guilty. They're so badly done by their own childish reaction. So they are not sleeping well. They have lost all the friends, because most people don't like to mix with such aggressive people. So then they become completely insecure. Then they feel lonely, they feel alienated, and they resort to drug and alcohol, bad companion, and ruin their life. Why? Because they didn't have the mind with them. They didn't please the Buddhas, or they didn't please themselves. They resorted to retaliation. And so they can't sleep, they can't sit still, they just constantly vacillating their mind around the same idea of being miserable, and they even don't like themselves in a minute. So that's the problem. Whereas if you practice patience, it will secure the welfare of a good sleep, no regret, no guilt, no fear, and even rejoice. Oh, I'm so glad I practiced patience with that situation. My only brother, my only mother, or my only friend, by my practicing patience with them is completely most appropriate thing to do. I'm so glad I practice patience. I read books. I try to do professional development. But if I don't do this, what is my development? Even your pay is greater, your position is greater, but your misery is just as greater than that. But even if you have less pay or you have less high position, but still you have more humility, joy, no fear, no guilt, no regret, no resentment. This is very good. So that's the welfare of myself. It perfectly secure the welfare of myself. This will drive away the sorrows of the world. Yeah, your mother, your father, your brothers, all the people will feel they have no longer any sorrow. They have discovered what a great shift that their daughter or their sister or their mother has come. They no longer have the stress. Otherwise, everybody's stressed about each other, you know. If you discover somebody patient, it will not only make them feel very well secure, but even the world around him or her, their sorrows will be minimized. They will all delighted. Oh, we have someone who practices patience. He forgive them. I mean, when you discover that, that's when we say, give peace a chance. Yeah, nobody wants to give chance. How could the world improve? The world is not going to improve because people have more gadgets or more houses or more money. That's not improvement. People's heart is shivering in loneliness, in fear, in anxiety. Why don't be patient with some things? If they are patient with something, then others will find hope. And then 2-3 people who discover about you, they find hope. And that will erase their sorrows. They find hope. Oh, my fellow brother, he practiced this. This is good. And therefore, it will be your constant practice. Yeah. It's not only you practicing patience with your difficult father or difficult sister, but what every situation, at work, at weather or elements or yourself or whatever, everyone becomes now you are another object of practice patience. My constant practice, you know. So it isn't that you practice patience once in a blue moon and then you think, I don't have to do that. Wow, that's a whoosh. I don't have to do anymore. No, you're delighted by this. Who are you be so afraid of doing virtue too many times? Some people think the patience shouldn't happen at all, because then you allow other people to take advantage of you. No, practicing patience is advantageous for everyone. It wastes nobody's effort and time. Your patience will never be wasted. Okay, you know, all the good things you have in this life, such as good health, good body, and whatever the good things you have, they are a result of you being patient in the past. Even if you do even if you abstain from drinking this, eating this, you give up that, you think you're a devout Buddhist, you think you're a good monk or good lay person, and you do all of those things for the religiously righteous reason, but if you're not patient with people, you're just artificial. There's a pseudo discipline. That discipline is, people do that also. People put nails on the body. People lie themselves on a bed of thorns and in a devotion to the God or whatever. Of course, we are not laughing at them. People are doing wonderfully difficult things in the name of service or God or whatever. But those kind of self-mortification is not practice of patience. Practice patience has to be in a constant kind of way of life that suits and that actually that correspond to your well-being. That actually becomes your character, it enables you. It becomes constant. Your constant practice. Yeah, constant practice. There are no time that you don't value patience. You don't see the patience is some once in a blue moon you have to try. Otherwise, when you don't have to practice patience, your life is good. No, if your practice patience isn't happening, you're not growing. It's not worthy of feeding yourself and clothing yourself if you're not learning to surmount a fear and overcome impatience a day. So if it's someone else's or weather or something not going well to your liking or whatever it is, if things meant to happen, it will happen because you're trying your best. If not happening, your agitation, your worry, your impatience will not work it faster. Simple as that. If you understand that, then you're not so cranky. You're not so negative or not so critical. You actually have virtue of being able to practice patience when some things are slower than you like to be, more tedious than they like to be, more difficult than like to be. At that time, it doesn't mean you shouldn't try better. You can always try more smartly so that those kind of hindrances don't manifest. But actually, the more smarter the work you do, that many even more difficult hindrances you will be met with. So that's that. Next is how to avoid harming beings. Harming beings with the metaphor. These 3 verses. 128. Imagine that a steward of a king does injury to a multitude of people. Yeah, those among the injured who are wise will not respond with violence, even if they can. Yeah, just imagine that. So if there's a group of people, who are all working for the king, or maybe say to the prime minister or whatever, and one of them caused a lot of injury to many people, and among the many people who got injured or upset or harmed by that, there will be among those who are wise who will not practice violence with violence, even if they can do the same harm if they wish to, but they just choose not to. So question is not whether you can harm as much as other person can do, because people think then we are good, But actually it's very stupid. It's only wise ones choose not to harm violence with violence. Why? Even if they can. Why? That's wise. Because if the harm they have caused you is not undoable by harming others anyway. So therefore, the wise are not retaliating violence with the violence, even if they can. But the fools, who are majority, will be doing just that. For stewards, after all, are not alone. They are supported by the kingly power. Likewise, I should not make light of lesser men who do me little injuries. Yeah. So therefore, because the steward are king's men, So it's the king who's actually king is who's directly, because you respect the king. Therefore, little steward who do little harm, you will you do not take the advantage of retaliating to them, because your main object of patience is not the steward but the king, who you have very reason to treat with carefulness, and so therefore some people are like that too. When they are dealing with their boss, they're quite patient, When they with their fellow workers or juniors or equals, they're not. It's interesting. So people have patience. They're just biased. So they're biased to practice patience with the boss because in fear of losing their job. Amazing. But in the equals, they don't mind, because the equals can't stop take your job. So a lot of the time people are patient, but with different intentions. So, using this as an analogy, for they have guardian of hell for allies, and also the compassionate Buddhas. Therefore, I will respect all living beings as though they were the subjects of that wrathful king. That's right. So the steward and the ordinary sentient beings have no power of their own. They just kind of duty. They're just carrying out their duties. They're just like the prison guards. Prison guards may lock you up or beat you up, or I don't know what they do. You shouldn't be angry with them. So therefore, you should respect the duty of the prison guards. And if you have created karma to be born in a prison, it's not because of the prison guard has something against you. Because they have orders from their own bosses how to look, how to mind you and others like that. So quite a lot of people, quite a lot of prisoners have become all of a sudden very, very patient, very cooperative to the prison guards. Interesting, and that's what the corrective service is. They try to correct the person, try to change their behaviors by being in a situation. And so therefore, people actually will have the resources within themselves to practice patience if they choose to. When they practice, when they are able to practice patience, and then they actually are treating very kindly and gently with the people, and who themselves may or may not have much power to do otherwise. So second is how to please beings with a metaphor. Verse number 131 and 32 says, and yet the pains of hell to be endured through making living beings suffer, could these ever be unleashed on us? But all the fury of an angry king. So it's talking about the analogy of the fury, the pain in the hell that one has to endure through harming all the sentient beings. Will that not be unleashed on us by the fury of angry king? And even if that king were pleased, enlightened he could not give to us. So even if we are able to please the angry king, but he cannot make you to become enlightened. For this will only be achieved by bringing happiness to living beings. Now, if you practice patience, at the beginning, some people may take advantage as if you deserve a great beating or something, because that's what people tend to do. But in the long run, if you practice patience, it will bring happiness to them, because they know that as a result of your non-retaliation, then they also have stopped being violent, aggressive to you, because you did not act violent with the violent, and therefore, but not to prove your righteousness over them or piousness over them, but in order to allay their sufferings, because they are instigated by the anger, by the negativity. And if you are not fanning their anger with anger, then their anger will come down, and then they will be happy. Not because they were able to beat you up or anything like that. Just because your good intent of not retaliating will bring them to acceptance. Oh, maybe I have a bit overreacted myself. He didn't really retaliate at all. And then they come to their senses, and then maybe even apologize in their own heart. Oh, I have been bit manipulative. I've been whipping up too much. So therefore, when you do that, that's because of your virtue. Your virtue of non-retaliation has enabled them to regain their senses and come to their mind. Not because who is right and who is wrong, who is skillful to make the problem that you have now as a cause of friendship. You have actually become cause of their happiness, because they discovered I was so you can say, I was so careless and ruthless, but he didn't do anything back. Next time they remember it, wow, if such a person can practice patience to someone like my kind of aggression, there is definitely something I need to learn from that person. And then they will find happiness. They'll discover true happiness. So it's only in the sentient beings and our encounter that is very difficult. Through the difficulty with sentient being, we can transform those conflict into cause of self-discovery and discovery of enlightenment. And then it becomes cause of real happiness for them, because they discover someone so rare did practice patience to them, and with good intent when you practice patience to them, and this will ripen them. This will ripen their mind, and this will mature their mind. This will make them to discover the humanity with the fellow sentient beings. And so that's 132, 31 and 32. Now the summary of whole chapter is verse number 133. Granted then that future Buddhahood is forged through bringing happiness to beings, how can I not see that glory, fame, and pleasure, even in this life, will likewise come? Yeah, so it's yeah, so it's talking about that even the reaching state of Buddhahood is achieved through practicing patience. The Buddha sitting under the Bodhi tree is a real practice of patience. He exposed his body, youthful body, to such harsh weather, and without food, without comfort, without a shelter, simply under a tree, day in, day out, night in, night out. Not one season, not that he goes somewhere in the night time, not somewhere when it rains. He just sat there, and his penance, his hardships became cause of the lasting happiness, bringing happiness to being. So therefore, that how can we not see those qualities? But it will be possible. It will be possible to cultivate those things if we too practice patience. Practice patience. And so that, therefore, practicing of patience is that which delights other beings. They say that even the beauty and height and good physics are, if someone is happy of their daughter looking so beautiful or pretty or whatever, they say she is blessed with such beautiful physics because she practiced patience with others. So she becomes cause of happiness to others because where she's so blessed with. So if you don't practice patience, you will be born foul with probably a lot of bad kind of deformities of the body, bad physical order, and various deformities and the like. And then as nobody likes this person with this kind of thing, because that's a result of them not having done anything virtuous. So therefore, for a person who wanted to practice patience, one needs to learn how to create causes for happiness to other beings. And the last verse, benefit of meditation, 134, is that patient in samsara brings such things as beauty, health, and good renown. Its fruit is great longevity, vast contentment of a universal being. This is talking about the benefit of the meditation on patience, benefit of practicing patience. even in this life, some people who are born, as I mentioned, born blessed with a good physical body. This is a result of past lives. In the past, one has practiced patience, and enjoy good health and good reputation, and also live very long, and suffers not terrible illnesses, and always have a lot of good maintenance, good mentality of contentment, always grateful. They never complain about what they didn't get. People who are patient will have very little things to complain about. People who are impatient and angry, they can't stop talking about complaining about somebody else. They can't. Even if you have met somebody, you just keep pouring on the somebody, complaining about somebody, what they did to your life, and keep saying this. A lot of people are like that. They have only bad things to tell you, what their life has been through at the hand of this and that person. People say that. I mean, who hasn't? But the person who has practiced patience, he will not do that. He might have suffered terrible under a violent father or alcoholic mother or whatever. But he doesn't say anything about that, That there are 7 siblings and 6 of them are complaining so much, but this one person doesn't. Why? Because he has better things to do than complain others. Because he has contentment. He has many good things he can see of his parental kindness. He is more thinking of that. He has ability to think all the good qualities of his brothers and sisters, and therefore he is much patient with their weak points, and so he's not so negative. So that's why practicing patience is a cause of happiness. When we say may all beings have happiness, what's the cause of happiness? Patience. Person who is practicing patience, person who's happy is not because he doesn't have to practice any patience. Remember, don't misunderstand, thinking those who don't have to do any practicing patience will be happy people. No. They're just lucky for the day or whatever. But people who are happy are those who actually practice patience in face of all the odds and adversities. Being able to overcome the adversities by one's dharma practice and being able to practice patience will make yourself so positive. You hardly got anything negative to say to anyone about anyone. Not because you don't see them, but when you see them, you're patient with them. You're kind toward the poor thing. What can you do? Childish sentient beings. They're all same like that. They're all lost, most of them, when they don't have dharma. Those who have dharma is so few. The other day I was looking at the statistics of who has dharma in the world. They said Buddhists are only 7%. But among the Buddhists, 7% world Buddhists, majority are cultural Buddhists. Majority don't know Dharma. They just burn joysticks. They just bow down before statues. They worship robes of their own culture, and they treat contemptuously other robes. That kind of Buddhist, They talk about how good Buddhist is when you eat meat, when you eat lunch, or when you don't eat. That kind of Buddhist. That kind of culture Buddhists are maybe bulk of the 7%. Small amount among those Buddhists will be those who actually are, who actually practice patience in face of their difficult work, what do we call, boss or colleague or friends or relatives or family members or whatever, whoever are very difficult with them, you just practice patience with them, because although it's really difficult, but in that difficulty you learn a lot. That's why, in the army training, they call survival. In our monastic training, we have to go through years of solitude, simplicity, and not going anywhere, but staying in one room, do this so that we learn how to be patient with our body and our desire and our mind and our wantings and so on. It's not a punishment. It's a purification. It's a penance. It's doing our time to purify the past karma of impatience. So the more difficult that you have to work with, like some of the great celebrated disciples in the past history, the more difficult the teachers have been, the much better the disciple has been cultivated, grown. These days, most people cannot work with any difficult teachers. Even fairly decent teachers, they don't want to work. They are so intolerant. They're so intolerant. They're so self-important, and they don't earn the merit of even a good hard teacher, because most of them, and a hard teacher will put you through some hardships. And there are not many who is willing to take up the role anyway, because so few want to be patient. Of course, in society, you can see what is right and what is wrong. But for the individual spiritual training, your ability to overcome your demons of anger and impatience, these will not be rubbed by anybody except some who is very near and dear, close in your life. So if you practice patience with them, then you have the greatest opportunity to grow and overcome your difficulties. And not a lot of people will be willing to rub against you anyway. So they themselves must have been pushed, driven by some karmic predicament. So when you think like that, you're much gentler towards them, and therefore being able to practice with each other. So that concludes the chapter on patience. So I'm going to chant this chapter in Tibetan, because it is good for you to hear this. Not only you heard me explaining the meanings of this in English, but it would be good to hear this whole chapter being read out to you, and also would be good for me. So you have to sit there and meditate, perhaps some of the essence of the what this chapter was all about. And so that's that. So I will read this. Traditionally, we always do that in Tibetan Buddhism. When you receive a teaching, we usually have the oral transmission of the root text. So that's what I'm going to do. Namo Arya Laya Gadan Ludan Jinga Dogunda Dame Ganam Nawagunye Danan Jazava Damje Gudo Dage Jadanda Gawa Dondo Zabaye Jindan Deja Jolazo Leje Gaye Deganja Kondro Jigen Jumbraji Hidan Dawu Digba Me Soba Dawu Katum Tevesola Nintendo Nazo Zuye Gombaja Hidan Sunga Zemjana Yine Shive Nyamenyo Gadan Dewa Medola Nime Onjin Demenju Kanda Nordan Gudeye Jinjin Dela Denjube Tada Janen Dandembe Jiben Dela Zobag Tenza Shikyawan Yu Jimbe Dujan Demeji Dona Treve Deneba Denen Gaya Yumai Treve Daye Dela So Dunga Dane Jiba Yu Kanshin Jimde Chonjamba Denen Didan Shindu Mindu Chedan Deba Yen Geje Bale Chungjuba Yime Deve Se Nyen Shidan De Danjons Tede Dagi Drawo De Zenen Number Jumbaja Deda Dala Nebale Dandela Nelejem Chila Pepjan Dagi Le Geve Yen Drumeja Migaji Yen De Mendru Gewa Dane Nyambra Kade Chuzu Yunani Tela Migaji Kade Chuzu Menane Tela Migachi Pen Dagam Dagi Yenam La Hadunga Nyedan Zedo Minye Sheja Mendo De Dala De Randobels Deve Yune Renganjung Dunga Yune Hindoma Dunga Mebar Ngenjung Me Teve Cho Teve Semju Tembrano Kando Dane Kanada Sekda Jezo Zawane Deme Seje Tawaye Dondo Dango Chi Komna Lavar Mejeve Ngode Kaya Yumai Teve Neba Chungwan Be Neba Chembo Zopracho
Rudan Shadang Dana, Shadang Dadane, Jagong Lazo Trawadan, Yamba Lazo Jebaye, Dumedong, Ji Mandong, Sadang Chadang Zoda, Anedan Jingdang de Zod, Dagi Zere Mijade, Tedajena Nebambe, Lala Dagi Chandona, Baden Labar Yenyul, Lala Shinji Chandona, Pojin Java Jubayu, Tene Samye Dingane, Darme Zule Jubai, Teve Neba Kezeje, Donga Dane Jezuju, Kebe Donga Juyane, Semner Abdan, Nyok Mija, Donga Namda Yunje La, Yunje Tsena Nebama, Donga Damje Kezene, Hedan Lazo Janjomba, Tada Jaje Bao de Lama Rola Soba, Xia Donga Yundene, Kyowe Jeba Savage, Korwa Bala Ningje, Dilan Zam Shingalak, Tiba Lazo Donga Ye, June Chela Medrava, Semyon Namla, Jida Dua, Teda Gunjan Genjego, Pena Mendo Shindo Ya, Nenden Jungwan Jawad, Tije Mendo Shindo Ya, Nenji Nyoman Jungwan, Trover Jaja Mazamja, Gewa Namne Kenand, Gebra Jaja Mazamja, Trova Tejin Gewa, Yeba Chinya Tamje Dan, Digba Namba Nazoba, Tegun Genja Dobla Joa, Rama Yeba Mayend, Genan Soba Teda Jan, Gebra Jaja Sambame, Teji Teya Dajeje, Semiba Semba Yeba Mayen, Zoa Sheja Kando Da, Daje Daba Kayenda, Teni Dane Junja Jedo Samjin Juame, Magebane Temena, Teze Gewan de Baga, Yula Dado Yingebe and Gaban Jua Mayen, Chide Dade Dane, Kashin Jeba Mevang, Genam Yendan Tenaya, Jura Mela Jejo, Jebe Zenang Jena, Jebe de la Jeje, Te Jeban Dinje, and the one Juva Kanji, Tada Samda, the Tamje Yingewa, Te Wange Tawami, Tada Hin Drew Dawango Gonla Tramenju, Kange Kanyan Doja de Dobari Bami, Tela Dene Dungana, Junjun Jundu Mirim, Teve Dam Zayaro, Mericheba Tonjuna, Tende Jinlen Judo, Tedrasem de Devrano, Kaderange Jubjuna, Dubjuna, Gayan Dunga Mindebe, Lujendane Tamjejan, Sula Dunga Jumanju, Pamebane Dalanda, Zamala Zonubaj, Pumelazo, Tubjeje, Ngamje Lazoji, Kajin Gajin Yansrajo, Dudam Mindra Savada, Sunamaye Jebaye, Rala Neba Jebaye, Kanzenimo, Wanjebe, Daduni Jedojeb, Tezeda de Yenola, Numecheba Chedan, Nemo Jebe Chedawo, Dazolazo Jubala, Ningje Jala Majena, Towan Juba, Jitazik. Kade Hela Zeba, Chibanam Jirajan, Tela Tower Meride, Sigberan Shimagon, and the Junde Lovula, Simjeran Evana, on a Tower Miride, Kala to do combine. You walla Zongo, the Kade Pembaladon, Dan Dage, Dan Shedan Gimbebe, Nina Shedan Latori, Daging Munje Simjela, and Dindaway, no budget, Te Simjan Zeba, Dala, no bandichuri. Te Zonda Dagelu, Niga Dunga, Juyen, the Tenzo Dagelu Jona, Gajila. Shua Mies on our Hare Domezo Dongaji. Sindo Dagi Zunjova, Della Neba Solado, Chiba Donga Minduba, Minduja, Donga Yula Gamben, Ranginibe, Nujova, Shala Gunduchi, Penanya Zumada, Radilla Menazad, Rangi Legi Tegina, Kajila Netrawaj, Dagi Legi Gujebe, Dala Neban Dijun, Dabal Naban Dijun, Tennis Imjandona, Dagi Tedrajuma, Malaga, the Dala Nedene, Subeda de Mondunjo. Dala dene dedage yurendung anyorwand dane dela nejala dala denga deda dala pendona chinjelo de jije marung semje chawaje gade dala sambaye yunde yuna nyamendo gade dage dasona deda lande jishinjo kande lende nejeba deda sungbar majyoba dage choba nyambrinjo tena katum shikbrin yine luje mayembe sujang kando jemen lula ngumra shembe na lula dana donga damgen yedan tsizo mawa da minyen baye tsede lula nöbra minjona semju jichi rabdo jo shenda dage mingawa tela tsende tsayel dala zawra meje na dane jije de mend yebe barje chebe je kaden da mendona dage nyebande no je dongwa dane dembane tene de nyeshan lozo yure somer dada yure ne je jan chebe donga denye ye melam loja de nyone sebra jiwa kan shenji yuzam de nyone sebra jiwa kan ba seba de da ni gala devra tene sheme 세린 세동이가라 치외도나 덴저세 예방 망보 도주데 유린도서 대지 전부 잡아 지연도 제모 라바 동바 가데 예배 선조나 덱세 소남 자제나 예배 돈도 저조나 소남 세데지 민조라 관계 돈도 다송바 되니 가데 냠조바 딕반 바시 제바야 손바 대고지 가데 sem제 냠제베 미니 말아 저제나 현라 미니 조랑 저 대제지데 저메죠 Madeshan la ralebe, Tebamela Josona, Nyomongela ralebe, Minyamala Chimezo, Kuzu Chuden, Tamjola, Kajin Jibra Chiba, Dagi Hedamiri, Sanjes Ola Numenga, Lama Tienla Dabada, Shinyan, Shela Nuba Chebana, Gametsuji Jandale, Juvanam Ladona, Lujanam La Semyodan, Semeniga Nujana, Semyo Chide, Takardeko, Devenu Pasubra, Lala Mombe Nebaje, Lala Monde Chujeba, Tela Jende. They get good, Kangi Kenda Nuje Bele, the Munje Jija, Tamje Lela Ralena, Dagin de the Jide, Teta Tona Jine, Tamje Benjan, Tamje Benjan Chanzo, Jua Teta Dagin, Sonam Dala, Jim Dead, Pena Kimzi Jurveze, Kim Jeshudo Sonen, Zazo Kanla Chejuba, Tene Jundan Dawar, Tishin Kanla Semjane, Hedamene, Chenjuba, Sonam Sikra Tobai, Tene Molad, Seje Michi Laje, Kadetana, Mala, Kade me dunga ye, Nyawatana, Chimala. Tade dunga de Zamla, Dage Zobra Minuna, Tenanyeve dunga you, Chawaji Domajo, the Bendam to say, the Bedon de Silas or Nyawaton Ranju, Dagi Rangi Dondona, Shinji Donla Majus, Dine Tezan Numela, Tunjeta Jandu Jeva, and Dunga, Revenus Dunga La, Gawan Bajan de Jar, Shinji Yundin Dendone, Kade de Dedom, Ijane Dedone, Deji de la Gamage, Kuji Gawe Devandi, Denjun Kana Madame, Yunden Namjana, Hindu Baye Jojan, Shenya Teta Dangerous, Kade Kude Deminde, Langi Zupanveche, and Tonda Mandonian, Rangi Yunde Juveze, Shela Devan Dervaje, Shenji Yunde Juveze, Rala Deva Minduj, Semjen Tamje Dendebe, Janju Den, Semjerangi Denin, Tegoji de Jawaj, Jigden Sumjo Zanjawa, Semjenan and Dujana, Zigon Zam Don Jija de Landawaj, Soja Kanje Kyozawa, Tinyakan Jinja de Ninja Sowani Yuna, Garmin Yuan, Lato Am, Dejila Mindaba, Dejila Mindana, Dela Janju Dogan, Gaye Shanjo de la Janju Semen Kala, Kade de Nelenian, Jinda Jimna, Nejuba, Kundan de Yulamena, Jimajin Deja, Sonam Tane Deba, Rangi Yunde Jijun, Yiban Yua Minzemba, Kange Choa Mizu, Kune Rangi Dijela, Yangeme Bazaja, Sonam Cheba Yenda, Legend Chendo Tam. That's the first part, 86 verses. Second part. Kadeta Jimigana, Della Jugurji, Ijun Zamien, Tela Nebe Jumenju, Juju Dongan, Jujun Debe Dongan, Truna Jugurji, Kadet Singbre Jujena, Della Pumba Shinjo, Pneumonia Daba, Chibadan, and the Tenesunis, Tesun Simia Pumbala, Never Sume does it, Dodan Taberim Joy, Sonamin Juchemen, Dado Minju Nemenju, Ludeva Minjuno, Danerandon Shejuna, Tela Randon Ji. In the Bayan Donan, Genso Chan Dengos, Tabeton, Northern, Daniela Surgeon, Sindron, Jichi, the Shena Dego Solad, Chime Kambu Debuna, Chibanam, Kachetu, Tijan Dodan, Danyam, Rangisem, Chibaji, Rishik Dalam, Semage, Dala dozen Yumejo, Dala Shenga Shidaba, then Gave Junior, Shenayana Dajaro, Shenga Dala Chim, Gadetene, Dagi, Teleshim, and Tedewa, Daden. Guna Simna Shagina, Chidra Gawa, Deva Juna, Jimmy. Teve Dane Dodo, Rangi Gawakin, you Teda Dene, Medebe, Chibijuba, Connerse, Dazo Dane, Ingorje, Dene, Joan Jibraja, Yunden, Tado, Ponson Sobanji, Teja Dagi Dozone, Shijir Danda, Yeneba, Teda Dane, Zondo, Tongasun, Shuminam. Dane Trova Tunyela, Niedan good Chimego, Kanda Dajin Trojeva, Dela Dane Jedando, Dela Dane Jedando, Dane Donga Jundola, Sanji Jin, Jela, Medongo Boni, Dela Dane Jedan, Jeda Dane Denan, Dinam Sonum Gije, Dela Trova Meride, Sonzun Kadu Yemena, Dela Dane Menez, Kade Dane Ranjungi, Dela Zubra Mijena, Sonum Juyenena, Denangage Jebra, Kaye Game. Jung, Kanji Yona, Teni de Yuna, Chidra de Langi, Tuzi Chimbe Longmo, Jimbengi Yomai, Rabdu Jimbre, Jigiwe, Rabjungi Jameru, Jigdenane, Longwam, Nebre Cheba Combat, Teta Pano Majena, Gayan Nebre Majid, Tewenga, Madrube, Kimdo Den, Jungwad, Chanjube, Tronjube, Dagi Dala, Miga, Dagi Dala Gavracha, Dina Dagi Drubdena, the Sube, Devon, Dilla Toman Dargo, the Dardena Zubeju, Kade Zudu, Samebe, Dante Choja Mijena, Dubai, Jurova, Tambe Choja, Chidej, Kade Dante, Nujave, Samia Choja Mijena, Membachian to Penzova, Dagese, Sobra Chidru, Teve Rabdo Danzela, Dena Zoba Kevana, Teni Zobe, Yumbe, Tambe Chojan Chobravo, Teju Semjan Shindane, Jave Shindan, Shinja Tubeson, the Dangoja Mambojin, the Panzo Parochi, Semjan Namdan Javala, Sanje Chodu Davala, Yala Kuji, Dijun, Semjan Lamin Ji Tsulu. Sambe Yunde, Sambe Yunde, Rangimen, de Willemi, Tenzumba, Semjan Namla Yunde, Tejur de Nyambai, Samsen Dela Chobagan, Tena Semjan Chevani, Sanje Tebe Sonamgan, Tena Sanje Chevani, Sanje Chudu, Sanje Chudu Chayoba, Tena Deda Nyambradu, Yunde Jazun Taebe, Sanje Namda Gamenja, Yunde Chozo Jigui. Yunde Hezam Gajela, Nana Tela Chudun, Kamsun Puyan Chungurju. Sanje Chozo Gewe, Semjan Namla Yuben, Dezam Dagi Chanube, Semjan Choja, Semjan Choja Ribranju, Shen Yumen Yanju, Pemba Bam Zanamla, Semjan Goja Madoba, Semjan Goda Madoba, Shengashi Lelonju, Kanji Godonamen Jubala, Tela Penda Lelon Yuben, Delan de Danujan Chenaya, Tamja Sangushu, Chebracha. Reshi Dagi Genju Nijan, Kanji Rangi Kula, Mezeba, de la Momba Dagi Chidana, de la Tela Momba Dagi Chidana, Naja Shashin, Tenjing Meja, Dade Song, Dade de Tubna Jejushin, Kala Nuna, Mijin Junjoba, Teda Gawa Tuba Kunjin, Kunjishin, Tela Nujo Tuba Nebraje, Teda Lula Kun, Memberwa, Tuba Kunji, either Minjuba. Tejin Simjin Nuba Chenaya, Tuja Chenam Jeve Tamede, Teve Dagan Rola Nujebe, Tuje Chegun, Tuje Chegun, Mije Jurbakan, Dade Terin Soso Shabarji, Mije Kanla, Tedo Zobraso, Tejin Gebre Gelato, Tene, Jigden Change, Chendoche, Roman Dobe Dagi Jizoka, Gumja, Mingon Jigden Chojeba, Rove Donga, and Rovan Degun, Tuje Dajente, Dadon Zebandela, Tezome, Simjung over Tonwan de Dane, and Nomane, Gondani Gumeje, Deni, Teshinship Nije, Rando, Yandan Druban, Dinieto, Jigden Donga Sevan, Dinieto, Tede Daget out on Dinieja, Pena Jawa Mingashi, Kewa Mala, Nujan, Kewa Manda, Kewa Migan Ringboda, Nujan Chunu Meje, the Deji Mayangi, Yawo to the Teipung, Deji Nujan Yamjova, Gayan Keto Semeja, the Danyave Sumadan, Tuje Chende, the Chenam Teipung, Teshin, Tedemangi, Galdumishin, Semjanam, Govaja, Yawo. Tashi Tonaya, Simjan Gujami, Simjan Mingu Chevaye, Nyorjiva Kayamba, Neveneba Tejeta, Javo Tashin Gunaya, Simjan Gubra Chebaye, Toperjiva Kayamba, Sanjin Yijin Misedo, Simjan Gule Jungwaye, Mao Sanje Ruptasho, Sendenila Be Pajenda, Trada, Jinju Jimandon, Koze Zebe Zesodan, Neme Badan, Trabaye, Shindu Yin, Zovadan, Kolojive, Dedone, Detoba, Deje Toba, Chanjusim, Jobolanjuba, So that's the 134 verses. When you read it quickly, it's just 15 minutes. So one can do that kind of thing as a daily recitation, which is very, very good. Even though you can't read the whole commentary, just read the verses like that, and some days one verse, some days couple of verses, other times like you can read like that. It'll bless your consciousness. Just being able to read the small print, make your voice heard. When you hear your voice chanting those, it is a very powerful
powerful blessings. And why the Tibetan people have nothing but Dharma is because they have been reading, they have been writing, they have been copying this, they have been teaching on this, they have been listening to each. This has completely saturated the kind of character of the people who are so exposed to Dharma. And so we need to keep this tradition of people reading, people writing, people listening, people explaining, and people discussing on these matters, rather than talking about nonsensical things that has no practical values, always spending so much time, putting your feet up and going to some sporting activities every day, every week, every weekend, spending all that time. You will regret one day you haven't done anything useful study. So therefore, those of you who have had the good, I would say, discipline to listen and pick up a commentary or translation of Shantideva and listen to me or any other kind of transmission that's happening. There are lots of other people doing too, so you should look out. And during this term we have been able to do this chapter, and now we're going to have a recess, and then we will resume again in the next month. I will do the next chapter 7. Because it is such a good way to spend at least once a week like this. And the more you're acquainted with this body of teachings, we read so much, we study so much, we learn to read this language, that language, we write novels, we read books, but most of them are just just time passing. Even reading ordinary book is sometimes better than going somewhere and doing all kinds of useless things. But if you can read something like this that completely can transform your mind and your perception, your opinions, your way of thinking, your belief system, your characters, most of the suffering comes from you not having the right kind of doctrine, right kind of philosophy. You're so materialistic, so self-important, always thinking, what is it for me now, my body, that kind of, always looking for something for me, for my body, and now, that kind of me oriented. Think of something for your mind stream, by listening to this each week, it will really shift your mind, and as a result of that, it will completely change your perspective, and it will inform you and reform you. This is highest education. When you have that, then you are much more kinder to people and people you are around, and you're not going to be into this righteous thing. Some people think, you should be like this, you should be like that. It's not so much, everybody can't behave in the same way. There are 8 billion people. Nobody can impose. Even Buddhist teachings may be highly accepted by everyone, but it's only 7% are following those. Most of them are religiously. Others are just not even. Majority of them don't understand. Even they wouldn't have even heard of Shantideva. Out of the 7% Buddhists, I would say, very, very small percentage among them would have read Shantideva. Of course, there are in the sutras, there are in the Pali Sutra or in Sanskrit or other languages, they have got some teachings. But Shantideva's writing only features in Sanskrit and Tibetan, and I believe it's also in Chinese translated. But most of those are really put in books like this, put in a shelf nicely, people to worship. People aren't opening the verses, memorizing them, discussing them week after week with great discipline. And where that happens, it will greatly. This is where all the Tibetan Buddhist energy and concentration goes on. Whatever collective challenges their nation felt or their people felt, and they have to go through under the very good guidance of a really amazing figure, living Buddha, His Holiness the Dalai Lama, always teaches the practice of non-violence, compassion, and universal compassion. He calls universal humanity, and respect for people with or without same or different beliefs, and always treat others as equals and not with the contempt. These are coming from the teaching like this. Those who treat you difficulty, where maybe one face a lot of challenges. Maybe you're thrown out of your own country or your home or by other people or whoever, but that there must be some many kind of unexplained reasons why there. But you have excellent opportunity. They give you excellent opportunity to grow and unfold, and so don't have any enmity to those people. They have no power themselves. They're just like the stewards. Remember, they're just like the foot soldiers. They're just ordered by the king. So don't be angry to those people who are right in front of you doing this. They are themselves pushed by many causes. Therefore, have compassion to them if they're aggressive to you, or they, maybe, and you have to think, oh, what must be pushing her to do this? Poor thing, How can I help by not reacting to her? How can I practice patience? How can I transform this tragedy, this difficulty, into cause of my spiritual growth? They say Buddhas and other good people will not put you on the spot to practice patience. But some people with whom you have many unfinished karma from the past, obviously, are forced by their own strong impulses without them even knowing what they're doing to them, let alone to you. And so think like that, and then feel pity, and then feel compassion. They are actual merit field, real merit field. If you're able to do that, then wherever you are, whether it's at work or home or actual life situation, you will no longer have this waxed mind or waxed eyes that cannot see very clearly. You're impaired by your own enmity, your ill will and your resentment. You're not impaired by other people's mistreatment of you. That Buddhism never says that. You are impaired by your own afflictions about themselves, about other people. You're more harmed by your own afflictions, so not by other people. So your practice of fact that other people are your object of patience is actually helping you to get rid of your own impatience, your own irritability. So practice of patience is very highest virtue. Even Buddha, even Buddha's quality, Buddhahood is because he has perfected the patience. If Buddha was very impatient, he would never become Buddha, anyone who you respect are because they're patient, not because they are so disciplined or something like that. They live by the book exactly, but they're so impatient, they're so irritable, they so lack any tolerance and kindness to others. So what is their discipline for? Just to trap themselves in that self-righteous kind of ego. That's not the purpose of patience. Patience is trying to work with difficult sentient beings and be kind to them and be gentle with them and be non-violent with them and be thoughtful that this has a great learning and listening to teach oneself and others. So with this we have concluded this term. I would like to thank everyone quite a few of you have been very regularly participating, listening, sending comments, and so on. Of course, I don't get to give any feedback to those comments because these are not my teachings. I'm only going through the writings of Shantideva and reading them and try to pass few remarks from my own observation. So therefore, that chapter is what we went through 8 weeks. Usually considered fairly quick. We've been reading quite quickly because I didn't go through the nitty-gritty details of the outline or classification or quotation and all those kind of, but going straight to what I understand best for myself and then explain that way. So of course these are great writings of Shantideva. It greatly blesses and benefit myself. My mind stream becomes many times seasoned and blessed and helped, benefited, but I would not be able to do that, even though I have a fairly reasonable discipline to do a lot of study and reading. That's what I spend lots of my life is a studious student of Dharma, and it's good that I have opportunity to share some of my notes with those of you who lend your attention. And through this pandemic, of course, we could not do much by meeting in person anyway. But through this avenue, we are able to offer these things to everyone, wherever you are tuning from. So thank you for your patience, and thank you for all our audiovisual team, people who've been working around the clock to put. But if you did not get to listen to one, or even if you listen one, don't you have to repeat again. You have to read again, listen to it again. Next time you can invite a friend of yourself and go over one of the videos, because they are all on our Facebook as well as on our YouTube. And share with others, and therefore, because there's all of these are sitting in your shelf, sitting in the shell. It's in your library now. You don't have to go to the public library or library of the university to go and access. You can just go to our website and then go to the YouTube link and Facebook link. There it is, there it is. It doesn't have to take any space in your kind of computer unless you download. They're all there. So this is a gift of many hardworking people in technology. What must have them work so hard to make these things available like this? Give a credit to them. Maybe some of you are involved in doing that, So a lot of our scientific community in working in this field, audiovisual, has improved things and made a lot of our activities possible through their work. So we have very good reason to rejoice. So with this, I'd like to thank you all, and we will offer our prayers so that our teachers live long and enjoy good health, fulfill His Holiness Sakya Kongma Teaching Rinpoche is turning 76 on Friday. So if you have time, you can offer some prayers for his long life and so on, as well as all other great teachers, because these days everybody have birthdays. But if you remember, His Holiness' birthday on Friday and rejoice and offer your prayers, that would be good. And those who are able to join us on tomorrow night practice, we will do his long life prayers together. But at the meantime, we now conclude here. Thank you very much. I dedicate the merits and say thank you to everyone. From the ocean, but and Maya
tiji wa chewa me re ra heva gu me obe pe gas den levas choda mahayana tiji courage manju shina ode azama traba lava following all the example I shall de all the mere salam body jida traba vedana yadanza it has been bo me jingri freely with the generation pandela me goze damba da ganyan yon la de yin da jemo le soso de janan de sanje salango wa jo minjur lambo kuye zhe ye yan la zhu jo song ge zhe da da den de du je zhe ye ye we go song du je zhe ye jo den be be jo la me je be de den zhen jo sa dan yon la den be jian da nga dan zhe wo ye den ba yu ren ne we zhe ye jo. Thank you, everyone. See you next time. Bye-bye.